Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Tower of God, Chapter 371, or Season 2, Episode 291. Getting close to Episode 300. Seems like Episode 200 wasn't that long ago, to be fair. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this one. I guess we're kind of picking up where we left off. Because yeah, we ended last week seeing the divide between Zahard and Misheni's group that he had created, and that's where we pick straight up here. So yeah, starting from there, Misheni snaps herself back from whatever it is. When the princesses see Zahard, they kind of freeze up, but Misheni snapped herself back out of it, and we saw this chapter later on that Andrasi's back to her senses. So Misheni snaps herself back, and she pretty much says that the plan now is to just distract Zahard as much as possible so that they can go and steal the mirror. At least the Kun children, I guess, will be the ones who are doing the distracting. But Haku explains what's going on with his eyes. He says, we tried, but he can't see Zahard's future. It's like he's this chosen area that the tower is protecting. He couldn't see Zahard's future, and I guess we kind of figured that's what was going on. But either way, I just like seeing more Haku scenes. He's a great character. So we have this really, really badass art as Misheni is confronting Zahard. All of that was really, really good. And in hindsight, going back and rereading, it was a lot better to me than the first time I read it for the live reaction. But that's the way things usually are. You don't catch everything on your first time reading something. So yeah, going back through, I liked it even more. Misheni charges at Zahard. Asensio and Sachi attack him from behind, but Zahard just knocks all the attacks back without even moving, then launches his own attack towards Misheni before we cut away. So that was all very, very good. We get to see some training. Bam tries to use the orb as a projectile. We've seen that he can create it, and now he's trying to use it to fight. He tries using it as a projectile, but it doesn't really do that much damage, and it shatters whenever it hits what he aims it at. So Edwan tries to explain to him again, so I guess off screen he had already said it once, that the orb isn't a projectile, it isn't an attack, but it's a tool to be used. It's a weapon, not necessarily a weapon, I guess just a tool in general, but it's something for him to use. So it's not, you don't just throw it at things. But cutting over to Rak is having no luck with what's going on with him, and Kunaguro Agnes is kind of in the same boat. He can create a small bong, but he says it's not good for much or of anything except for strengthening, and even then it's not very good. So he can create a bong, and this reminded me of something that when I read it in the live reaction, it hit me, but even processing it more, I had completely, not that I'd forgotten, but I hadn't really paid any notice to it, that if somebody isn't a wave controller, they don't even know these basics. We've seen Bomb and so many other characters that he's fought using a number of bongs and all that so many times that I kind of took for granted that, oh yeah, somebody like Kun or Rak who isn't trained to be a wave controller might not even be able to form a single bong. That makes total and complete sense, and I hadn't really thought of it in that context before. So he can do that, and Yuan Sung there is, and again I love Yuan Sung's character acting as a teacher here, but Yuan Sung says that Kunaguro Agnes's problem is more than anything his pride. Usually it's hard for somebody to learn Shinsu because they don't know what quality to go with, and they're just having to go with Shinsu in general, but Kun knows exactly what is the proper attribute that naturally comes to him. He's just trying to fight against it. He's trying to not use what naturally comes to him. So Yuan Sung says he should drop the pride and just use what comes naturally to him to learn, to be better, to learn what he can. So I like all that. Rak tries to eat rocks, become one with the rock, because that isn't working. And hey, maybe eating rocks will work. Who knows? Internal Shinsu rocks. Then Andrasi, we see she learned, it said it took her 2 days, she learned to make some red dart thing. It looks maybe kind of like a flower petal almost even. It kind of reminds me of Marluxia's abilities from Kingdom Hearts, but just from the one little panel we've seen of her holding whatever it is up in the air, it looks like a dart. Just from that, I can't really tell what it is or what it does, but I'm assuming maybe she could just send a volley of those small dart things at somebody. Maybe that's a new ability that she can gain from this. But right now, that's the best theory I've got. If you've got any guesses, throw them in the comments. I'd be interested to see what anybody else guesses. Because there are a lot of things it could be. Maybe it's something fire-related since it's red, but that's a terrible guess, just being fire-related since it's red. Then Bomb learns to fire blasts from the orb, which I really, really like, because what this allows him to do, we already saw he could kind of fire a lot of attacks at once by making a bunch of bongs, but this lets him use one bong weapon type thing, but it lets him fire multiple shots from it seemingly at the same time. He can shoot an entire volley from it. So this is cool. This is an upgrade for Bomb now. He can just make a singular bong and shoot a bunch of blasts from the one that he has. Use the orb as a weapon in that way. So I think that's really cool. And I think at some point he will learn to like somehow fuse it into his body or something lightning pill style to strengthen himself, just because that seems like the kind of thing that Bomb would do close range. But even if he doesn't, and even if it's just a long-range thing, I like it as a long-range thing. Have him use the thorn to strengthen himself for close-range fights, and then long-range fights he can use the orbs for long-range abilities. So I actually think the orb is a good weapon for Bomb, now seeing it in action, just him using it this once. And then the sworn enemies show up. The pink hair, the floaty statue, the evil anti-Viole, Nega-Viole, and then Kisea. So those four show up, and that's where we end this off. For the blog, CU didn't really write much of anything for the blog. He said, I don't really have much time for this. I'm really tired, because we know last week he said that he had a lot to do, and he didn't know if he was going to have to take a hiatus. He pretty much just said, well, I didn't have to take a hiatus, but I'm tired from doing all of this. So there isn't much for the blog this week. So yeah, chapter as a whole, I thought it was great. I like the Macheni and Zahard scenes a lot. In hindsight, more than the first time I read, I thought they looked really great. And I like how the training feels like learning basics all over again. It feels like the characters are learning basic concepts all over again. So it gives us something fresh this far into the series. 300 some chapters in, we're still getting some fresh stuff. So yeah, I guess that's about it for a score. I'd give it 8.5. I actually really, really liked it. Though it may have been on the kind of shorter side, or it might have just seemed that way because of the action panels. But yeah, I thought it was good. 8.5. Like, if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this week's chapter, what you thought of my thoughts on it. Sorry it's a bit late, just getting caught up to everything, of course. You already know what's going on there. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. If you want a link to our Discord server, just ask and I can give you one. That's it. Thank you once again for watching. I'll see you all next time.